Elebits was the first game I ever purchased for the Nintendo Wii. When little baby boy me brought it home and turned it on, I was confronted with this opening cutscene.
Just one more story. I promise I'll go to sleep after that.
Okay, I'll read you one more, but then it's off to sleep mode. My name is Kai,
and I hate Elebits. My mom and dad study Elebits, and they love them even more than me.
And I was like, oh no, those are baby voices. This is a baby game for babies. But when I started playing, I very quickly discovered that Elebits is actually one of the best games ever released for the Nintendo Wii. Here's the trailer. Developed by Konami, Elebits was a launch title for the Nintendo Wii in Japan and released exclusively for the Wii in North America on December 12, 2006. In the world of Elebits, all electrical devices, from toilets to bulldozers to Ferris wheels, are powered by Elebits. Cutesy little mouse-like alien creatures, which arrived on the Earth on the back of a thunderbolt. You play as Kai, the young son of two Elebit researchers, who love Elebits more than they love him. Oh, boo-hoo. When a freak thunderbolt during a storm causes Elebits across the world to go haywire, and all power to go out, Kai's parents leave him alone to investigate what's happening. Kai doesn't care though, because he can stay home and watch his favorite show. Except he can't, because the power is out. So he grabs his father's laser capture gun and sets off to capture all the rebel Elebits and turn the power back on. This is the whole game. Under a usually generous time limit, you walk around exploring levels in first person, zapping Elebits to capture them, attempting to acquire a certain amount of electrical wattage before the time runs out. Elebits like to hide underneath and inside of things, so you have to pick stuff up with your capture gun's gravity feature to find the Elebits hiding underneath. Your capture gun starts off very weak, only able to pick up the lightest and smallest objects. But capturing certain special Elebits makes your gun stronger, able to pick up larger objects, which lets you capture more Elebits, which means you can pick up even bigger stuff, which allows you to capture even more Elebits, so you can pick up even bigger stuff. I think you get the idea. The game starts off very small scale, moving through Kai's bedroom, picking up toys and desks, stuff like that, but the game ends at a huge scale, where you're moving through the city streets, tossing cars and picking up entire buildings, like a little Japanese boy Hulk. This gameplay loop of constantly getting just a little bit stronger, every minute being able to pick up a slightly heavier object, is deeply satisfying, addictive, goofy, and fun. It reminds me a lot of the popular Katamari Damacy games, where you roll a ball around slowly, rolling up larger and larger objects to make a bigger ball. In those games, you start off rolling up little erasers and end the game rolling up entire cities, and even the islands the cities were built upon.
感じる。コスモを感じるわ。北極星がとうとう復活したのね。もう何も迷わないわ。
Elebits follows the exact same gameplay loop, and there's something inherently fun about just tossing around bigger and bigger things. The most entertaining part of the game is its physics engine. Literally, every single object in every level can be picked up and thrown around. Every single level ends up being this huge, chaotic mess where hundreds of objects, big and small, are getting tossed around all over the place. I never got tired of just making huge, crazy messes. Never got tired of throwing cars and houses around. It's just so much fun. And I'd like to say again, every single object can be picked up and tossed around, can be rotated and flipped, can bounce into each other and send other objects flying. That level of interaction is actually really rare in video games. Even today, there are a lot of games where your character is moving through a basically static environment that can only be interacted with in rigid, controlled ways. In Elebits, you can interact with everything on screen. And there are special objects that you can interact with in little special ways. For example, you can turn the faucet on any sinks and water will come pouring out. You can stick a bucket of popcorn in the microwave and it'll pop your popcorn. You can rotate this entire Ferris wheel at the amusement park. The level of interaction in this game is genuinely astounding and really impressive. Now, all of that interaction is accomplished through the Wiimote's pointer and with motion controls. And those controls are a bit slippery. They're not totally accurate, which can lead to some definite frustration, something that reviews at the time were eager to point out. Turning the knobs on doors is especially irritating because it feels awkward and the physics on the doors just don't work properly, constantly shutting in your face before you have a chance to get through. But in my experience, the controls work far more often than they don't work, and the interactivity is really fun and impressive. Getting back to the story, Kai starts the game off by sweeping each room of his house, one by one, capturing all of the Elebits inside. And then, after a boss fight, he moves outside onto the streets. Over this time, the game steadily introduces new Elebit types, and each new type behaves slightly differently. There are Elebits that fly, Elebits with smoke bombs, Elebits covered in spikes that do damage if you try to pick them up. Elebits that can suck up other Elebits and grow big enough to throw objects back at you. Elebits with energy shields that can shoot lasers at you. The game also introduces new challenges to increase the difficulty. You have to avoid bullets and lasers, because if you get hit more than 5 times, you lose. You have to avoid breaking more than a certain number of objects or making too many loud noises, which is actually really hard, because as soon as you start tossing stuff around, things will break and loud noises will be made. When you progress far enough into the story, gravity turns off and everything starts floating in the air. This might be my favorite part of the game, because during these levels you can literally toss cars and houses into outer space. Suck on that, Elon Musk. Kai eventually finds and heroically slays, or I guess captures, the Elebit responsible for turning off the gravity. Then he heads to the amusement park, where most of the Elebits seem to be congregating. This begins a series of very difficult, final, huge, and creatively designed levels in different sections of the amusement park, where you will have to capture increasingly massive numbers of Elebits, while dodging dozens of shots at a time, and trying to break as few objects as possible. Kai's parents call him and tell him to be careful, because the thunderbolt that struck the amusement park apparently carried a dangerous new life form to the Earth. And that new life form has caused all Elebits to go crazy. And through this phone call, Kai realizes that his parents really do care about him. Aww. Kai doesn't listen to his parents' warnings though, and heads off to confront the alien life form, because he's gotta watch his favorite TV show, god damn it. And also, he's come to sympathize and even like the Elebits over the course of his adventure, and he wishes to rescue them. He tracks down the alien, and the game ends in an absurd final boss battle, in which the alien life form actually possesses a giant Robo Gundam battle suit, which you must destroy. This final battle is insane and hilarious. It turns out that the alien was just a new form of Elebit, and he was lonely. But not anymore, because Kai invites it to live at home with him, and everybody lives happily ever after. The campaign can be completed in under 10 hours, but you can replay all 25 or so missions to get better scores and find secret hidden Elebits, or play challenge, time attack, and endless mode versions of every level. There's actually a ton of content here that can take a very long time for a completionist to beat. There's also a multiplayer mode in which 2 players compete to see who can pick up the most Elebits, and a surprisingly in-depth level editor where you can make your own custom levels. The game even had an online level sharing system where you could share your custom levels with other players. I actually did this back in the day. All the way back in 2007, I found strangers on GameFAQs.com and exchanged levels with them, and to my memory, their custom levels were actually really good. Finally, I love this game's soundtrack. It sounds quirky and jazzy and silly and upbeat, and it adds a huge amount of flavor and personality to the game. Listen to this sucker. Elebits was a fantastic fantastic game, one of the Wii's best. The simple gameplay loop of zapping cutesy Pokemon creatures to pick up bigger and bigger objects was addictive and fun. The physics and interactivity were extremely impressive for their time, and even still today. Its style was quirky and vibrant, and its story was kiddie and stupid, but also kind of really cute. Elebits did have 2 sequels. Elebits: The Adventures of Kai and Zero, released on the Nintendo DS in 2009, and an iPhone game called Elebits Capture was released in 2010. Unfortunately, those games, being on inferior systems, didn't really match the quality of the original. I will be reviewing many more quirky, obscure, forgotten Nintendo Wii gems, as well as a lot of trash, because on this channel I will review every game ever released for the Nintendo Wii, or die trying. Oh yeah.